good holiday week here at FTN Network, guys. Happy Thanksgiving. Abby Labar, Chris Meaney, Mike Randall with you guys for our weekly NFL betting show. So first things first, gentlemen, let's create some controversy here. Best Thanksgiving dish. Randall?
Stuffing. It's not close. We like it. It fills us up. It's not close. It's stuffing. I don't want to hear anything else.
Meaney, I know you're Canadian, but you know.
I love to go the other way a little bit with Randall sometimes, even though he's super sharp. But it's just like our nature, like just to kind of have a little bit of a back and forth. But I can't argue that. It's stuffing.
Yeah, are we going?
Yes.
Is this a three-way tie?
I am Canadian. We already had our Thanksgiving. It comes in October.
Yes.
But I had a plate full of stuffing. I think what we need to discuss is the cranberry sauce. Like, are we pro cranberry sauce?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Because Jake this morning on All in Football, which you can catch here on our FTN Network YouTube page twice a week, he said he gave a top 10 like positive side dishes and then like a bottom 10 worse. Like he loves to rank things, and he had the cranberry sauce or the jelly in the bottom. Like,
no,
what's he thinking there?
No. I feel like you're either a gravy person or a cranberry. Unless you guys do both. I go cranberry sauce over the gravy, to be honest.
Both.
It's both. Up close. It's close. Yeah, both are great. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. No, cranberry sauce all the way.
And speaking of gravy. Great transition there, Abby.
Oh, I love that.
Good segue. Yes.
Give us the gravy.
40% off FTNbets.com, FTNdaily.com, FTNfantasy.com, promo code GRAVY, I believe, till Monday, using that promo code GRAVY. And also, we have our optimizer that's free over the next couple of days. Hopefully, your season-long teams are not dead. I know this is a betting show, but if your fantasy football season teams are dead, unfortunately, you can hop on over. Check out the optimizer. We have 3 games on Thursday. We have a Black Friday game.
Yep.
So there's lots of football this week. No teams on bye. Look at that. George made this one for us. He's jinxed Mahomes perfectly. He was throwing picks inside the end zone against the Eagles. Thank you, George, for that. But yes, we have promo code GRAVY here, 40% off. I mean, no better time to jump on right now and see what we have to offer.
Yeah, my fantasy team is not doing so hot. I'm not going to
play some DFS.
My bets are things are going well on the betting front though. For you guys as well.
Hot.
I feel like
it's scalding hot. Yeah.
We're rolling right now. So now we can feast on this weekend slate of games. We got 3 games tomorrow. Thanksgiving, Packers Lions, big NFC North matchup, guys. Let's start with this one. The Lions haven't won on Thanksgiving since 2016, but I feel like this is obviously probably going to be a slam dunk for them, or should be at least with the way that they've been playing. I know Green Bay's kind of been a little hot lately, but what do you like about this game, Randall?
Yeah, the first one I like here is I'm actually using it as part of a teaser. I'm going to tease the Lions down. I like the Lions straight up, but listen, we know numbers like 7.5, 8.5 get you nervous. I am teasing this one down to 1.5, and I'm going to tease it with, we'll talk about this a little bit later, the Browns teasing them up to 8.5 at my beloved Broncos. The Packers are struggling. No Aaron Jones. Not that he's been that great. A.J. Dillon from Boston College, my alma mater, 2 yards in a cloud of dust. We're not trusting Jordan Love on the road. I know you can pass on the Lions, but their front is going to be able to get pressure. Love is no good against pressure. Jair Alexander is banged up. I just don't see it here. This is a Lions team. They had their stumble last week. They still found a way to win. Favorites dominate on Thanksgiving. Favorites cover on Thanksgiving. First time the Lions have been a favorite since 2016 when they beat the Vikings on Thanksgiving. They look good. Montgomery, Gibbs, Amara, enough. So I'm taking the Lions as a teaser with the Browns we'll talk about later, but I don't mind them, Abby, laying the points as well, even though it's a nerve-wracking 7.5.
It was kind of a weird game last week for the Lions. I had David Montgomery in my Thursday night prop bet scoring 2 touchdowns. I think it was just kind of like a little wish there with him facing his former team. He did get the one at the end. That was great. But I did see a good prop bet. Meaning, I'd be curious your thoughts on this. Our FTN bets model shows over 1.5 receptions for Montgomery at plus 159. So we had 2 receptions last week. Do you like this for this week, Chris?
It's not bad. Yeah, I know he had the couple of catches, but they were down in that game, and I think I believe both came in the final drive. I know one
they
came in the
did.
final drive for sure. So this is a game where, like, I agree with Randall here. I like all the favorites. Teasing all three teams that are favored to win by a field goal, I think, is a pretty decent play. You can get plus money on that. I think that Montgomery will eat this week. You can certainly run all over Green Bay, but I expect them to be up in the game. I don't expect Jared Goff to be as careless with the football. He had 3 turnovers. The team had 4 turnovers. So they were down 10 points with about 4 or 5 minutes left. There's a lot of props I actually like in this game, like Gibbs receiving yard, Montgomery rushing yard. Amon-Ra has been a walking 100-yard wide receiver this year. He's roughly around 84 and a half, 85 and a half. And I agree with Randall and A.J. Dillon. Like, looks like he's running through mud, but his rushing attempt prop is 13 and a half. And the backfield is going to be his. So I think he lives in the 15, 16 touch range out of the backfield. And he's been catching passes as well. It's another pick that I have over at ftnbets.com is his receiving yard prop. And that one's at 11 and a half over at FanDuel. So he's been clearing that with Aaron Jones on the field. So even though it's not a great start in fantasy, he may not, rack up a ton of yards. The attempts and a couple catches, they may come in the fourth quarter. So that's where I'm at with some props in that game. And again, you get the package. You can see all of our picks over at ftnbets.com.
Love it. Jared Goff 5-1 against Green Bay, and then the Lions are 11-1 against the spread in their last 12 division games. So a couple numbers to cap that one off. I know you like some other props for Thanksgiving, Chris. 49ers at Seahawks. You want to go on about this one? Go ahead.
I do. I want to just right away talk about the Niners. Like, they're rolling now. They went through their losing streak without Debo, and Purdy looked like, just an average quarterback. But back-to-back games with 3 passing touchdowns. Ayuk, I want to give him a little bit of love. But this number 2 is only available at the time we're recording on Wednesday at Caesars at 6.5 minus 110. Most other books have 7, 7.5. Actually, a lot of books right now trending in the 7.5 direction. It sounds like Geno's going to play. No Kenneth Walker. The Niners have just owned Seattle. Played him a couple times last year, played him in the playoffs. Brock Purdy at 1.5 passing touchdowns. I bet it every single week. And it's like almost even money this week because of the matchup. I know Seattle's a tough place to play, and Pete Carroll's going to have them playing, and it's a divisional game. I understand that. But I think San Fran rolls in this game. They win by 10 points. And I like Brandon Ayuk. This guy doesn't get enough respect. Every week, his receiving yard prop opens up around here. He's averaging 90 receiving yards per game, which is a career high for him. A healthy 19 yards per catch. Just with Debo on the field, everybody else really does kind of get theirs. I know he doesn't pass it a lot, Purdy, but the play calling is great. You got to worry about Debo, what he can do out of the backfield with some carries and things like that. It's leaving Ayuk one-on-one down the field. It's leaving Kittle, who's been a touchdown machine with Purdy when Debo is healthy and on the field as well. So I like Ayuk at over 63.5, and we have him, I think, for like 90 receiving yards in our projections.
Yeah, I saw that.
Randall. So this is a big time edge here.
Yeah, Ayuk is a stud. He's a top 5 wide receiver, and my best ball teams are thrilled because it's someone that I waited on to try to target if you wanted to go running back or if you took Kelsey early, something like that. Ayuk is a guy I had to have. I agree with you. I like San Francisco. They're on the move right now. I don't trust Geno. Zach Charbonnet, everybody's excited. Zach Charbonnet's taking over the backfield. Be careful with him because in 2 of the next 3 weeks, he faces the 49ers. Thank you very much.
Tough, man. He's got a tough schedule, but he's going to get an opportunity. It'd be nice to see what he can do, Abby.
Yeah, I love it. No, we heard Brock Purdy literally talking about Ayuk this week. He was like, look, I love him. I think people are saying might be his favorite target. Now, I don't know if Purdy actually came out and said that. I don't know if he can say that, but
he loves them all.
Talked a lot about the separation that he can create. So I love where you're going with that. Hey, this is another good stat that I found. The Niners defense ranks 4th in pressure rate, and the Seahawks offensive line is allowing pressure at the 8th highest rate. So Geno, if he plays, he's probably not going to be 100%. So that's definitely a tricky situation.
And just to jump in, great stat, Abby. If anything happens to Geno in this game, GG, it's all over because Drew Lock is not going to be able to handle that pass rush.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right. Then we got, let's see, Commanders, Cowboys, minus 12 in favor of Dallas. This one, let's see. Are we laying the points for the Cowboys? I know that you want to get into a prop bet for this one, Randall, but are they going to win by 12?
Yeah, I get nervous about big spreads. I just don't like them. I didn't like it with the Cowboys against the Giants, and they covered no problem. But we were just, I guess, a week or two short on the Tommy DeVito making his way probably into the Millie Maker. Who knows if somebody had him last week? Maybe Two Gun did. He always has those guys. But in this one, I'm concentrating on Brian Robinson. Look, guys, I have told you I love Brian Robinson. I love everything about him. The biggest miscalculation that people made was that they thought Antonio Gibson was going to be this Jerick McKinnon-like back for Eric Bieniemy. No, it's Brian Robinson. And now that Gibson has been hurt, he is limited this week. He may miss as well. Brian Robinson has had a chance to show what he can do in the passing game, and he has dominated. Using our FTN fantasy utilization tool, he's fourth among all running backs with 314 receiving yards, yet he only sees 8% of the team's targets. Now, what does that mean? That means he gets big receptions. He has 5 receptions of 21 yards or more. So what I'm doing this week is I'm taking Brian Robinson over 65.5 rushing and receiving yards. We hit this one with Pollard a few weeks ago. Thank God. I don't want to guess on how this is going to go. All I know is Brian Robinson's going to be involved. If they're going to be trailing, he'll be catching passes. If they're winning, he has to be at the epicenter of what goes on. Yes, it's a good Dallas defense. I understand that. Robinson is averaging 50 rushing yards per game. Give me 40 rushing yards and 26 receiving yards, no problem. And if you look at our FTM bets model, we have Robinson for 78 rushing and receiving yards. I don't care about the defense. He's fantastic. He's faced some tough defenses, and he's caught passes out of the backfield. So, guys, I'm going combo it. He's getting to 70. Brian Robinson against Dallas.
I love the combo, Mike, but if you literally just go look at the rushing yards, the line's as low as 10.5 at PointsBet.
That must be. Yeah, I saw that too. That
attempts.
must be
Attempts. I think it's attempts to 10.
Yeah, I think they messed up the API there. There's something.
There's no way. Because I was like, no way. We're projecting him to rush for at least 46 yards on the ground. That's crazy.
There's a wide range in the prop shop from anywhere from 38.5 to 43.5 at a similar price. Again, I know we always reference the prop shop, but it does save you a lot of time and a lot of cash. I see 10.5 at minus 135 and 10.5 at minus 140. I love this call, Mike. He is an underrated pass catching running back, and I couldn't agree more about the aura around Antonio Gibson coming in. But you can't ignore the last couple of weeks and games that they have lost, and they've needed to come back in those football games. 6 for 119 and 7 for 58 last week. That's 15 targets for Brian Robinson, and they are 12-point dogs, as you said, Abby. So this could come early on, first half, or this could come, you could sweat it out and you can get the total in the second half when most likely Washington's playing from behind.
All right. Awesome. Well, this one you guys are both going to agree on, which I feel like you've agreed on more than haven't agreed on things so far this season. I feel like we're
It is just the Saints.
It really is just.
I just like to stir. I like when we stir the pot, though. It gets fun. But I think this one, it's the holidays. We're gonna be nice to each other. We're gonna try to agree on everything.
Yeah.
We're doing well so far. Pittsburgh at Cincinnati. Pittsburgh the dog by a point right now. Big AFC North matchup, guys. What are we thinking here? Meaney, I'll start with you since we just went to Randall. I know offensive coordinator Matt Canada is out. My former Wolfpacker, he's gone. I had all the NC State fans were having a ball with that on Twitter. And then obviously no Joe Burrow. That's a big one as well. What are we thinking with this game?
I'm thinking that there's going to be a little bit of a spark in the offense with Matt Canada gone. That's what I'm thinking. 10 games this season, outgained in every single game. He's never had his team account for 400 yards of offense in the roughly 36 games that he's been an offensive coordinator. And in 30 roughly of those, I think it's 30 of the 36, he's been outgained. So it has not been good for Matt Canada. At the end of the day, there's still Kenny Pickett under center, and I think he's probably he's definitely part of the problem. Easy for me to say. But I think against the Bengals, with no Joe Burrow and the way that this defense has played, I'm not sure what the offense will look like and how different it can be. Maybe Mike wants to jump in on that. We've seen a little bit more of Jaylen Warren. I still think it's going to be 55-45, a split between both of these guys. I'd like to say with confidence that George Pickens is going to be more involved. He's such a good wide receiver. How could you not throw him the football? But I just like the Steelers in this spot. Cincinnati, it's a big blow. You're asking a lot for Browning to go up against this defense that dials it up and gets some pressure. So I know Mike and I are on the same page here with Steelers -1, Steelers money line. I think they go in. They're still in the playoff picture. As bad as this offense has been, they are still very much alive in the playoffs, and the Bengals are done now because Burrow is done for the season.
I was such a Kenny Pickett. I mean, I still am. I'm like, still have hope for Kenny Pickett, but it was not this season. Maybe next year.
Maybe a new offensive coordinator can help him out a little bit.
It's like him and Daniel Jones. I think I have some bias from covering both of them in college, but I'm like, sometimes you hope for, there's potential. Come on. All right, Randall, what do you think here?
Yeah, I agree with Chris on this one. I like Pittsburgh. I think I've been low on the Bengals all year, and I'm continuing to stay low on them. They're not good in DVOA. They're terrible against the run. Jaylen Warren has an explosive run rate. He's been fantastic. I still believe in Najee. Deontay Johnson can get open enough. I think there's a spark. You want to go down narrow street without Canada. There's always a spark when you make a coaching change. Look at the Raiders smoking cigars in the locker room with Antonio Pierce. I mean, there's always an initial spark here. I don't like the Bengals. I faded them all year. I had them on an under in their win total, and I'm loving every minute of this. Sorry for Joe Burrow. Jake Browning against the Steelers. No, thank you. They're not going to be able to run. Cam Hayward, Watt, forget it. I know I would love it better if Tomlin was a slight underdog because we know that's a Tomlin spot. He is a slight favorite here, which gets a little frisky. Not against Jake Browning, like the Steelers here against the Bengals.
Okay, how about the total on this game, guys? Because I think it's easy for everyone to maybe look at the under, but our tools are showing 13% edge and playing the over 34.5 right now. What do we think?
Man, there's a lot of low totals again this week. 34.5 and 33.5 in the Giants and the Pats game. I know that our model says the over on both of those. It means it's such a low number that a defensive score and all of a sudden, you're there.
Yeah.
But I have a hard time believing that this number will be over at 34.5. I really do. I just don't think Cincinnati is going to be able to score any points. Like Mike said, they're not going to be able to run the football. They're not going to be able to pass the ball, I don't believe. They're just going to take away Jamar Chase. T. Higgins is not 100% at the moment. And the Steelers offense, just because they're flipping from Matt Canada doesn't mean all of a sudden they're going to score, at will. So I think that this game is like a 17-14 type game, kind of right there. I would say maybe 14-10. That's going to be my prediction. That would get us the under.
There we go. Okay. Randall, any thoughts on that?
I believe in the model because it's been so good for us here, over 65% on double-digit totals. I agree with Chris. I think the way it can get there is Pittsburgh can score and then garbage time for the Bengals. So I see what Chris is saying. I'll stick with the model and go over on this one, but I think it's because the Steelers' offense is going to click against the Bengals. They can wave the white flag on this season.
All right, from the Bengals to the Browns and the Broncos, 2.5 is the spread here. Dorian Thompson-Robinson actually found a groove, I guess, after it was disappointing before, right? Broncos have won by an average of 1.7 points outside of the Chiefs game this season. So at 2.5, what are we playing here, Randall?
Yeah, we're going with the money line. I've hit 3 straight money line underdogs, and I've hit another one here, and I believe in this one. You're going to have Cleveland plus 2.5 against Denver. Browns ranked first overall in defensive pressure rate per FTN. Russell Wilson, not great against pressure. That's why he's averaging his 42% pressure rate is substantially higher than Geno Smith, Kirk Cousins, Zach Wilson, and believe this one, Sam Howell. So he gets pressured. That's why his yards per attempt, his ADOT also is so low at 6.8. Cleveland defense is superb. Thompson Robinson, he was able to get acclimated last week. I love my Broncos, you know that, but they're going to play very close games. And folks, how about this stat I pulled from Bet Labs? Russell Wilson as a home favorite up to a touchdown. So a close home favorite per Bet Labs, 1-10 against the spread in his last 11 home games. With the Broncos, 1-6 against the spread. Russ likes to cook from behind. Russ doesn't like to cook as a slight favorite. I'll take the Browns as my money line underdog. Let's go for 4 in a row, guys, now. 3 weeks of running.
I have faith in you. You're crushing it. Hey, Dorian Thompson-Robinson is passing prop. We have him projected to pass for at least 220 yards. I'm seeing it as low as 167 and the hook. Wow. What do we think about that? I feel like that's a pretty good one to play. Yeah.
It's not too bad. I mean, this team is running the football a lot this year, and you can run on Denver. I would expect Jerome Ford to kind of rack up maybe 20-plus opportunities. Yeah, but I mean, if he hits Amari Cooper, that's a pretty big edge there that you found. Right? Abby, between the projections and what the prop is. It's probably a stay away for me. If I had to pick a side, I would lean with the over. I mean, he could hit Amari Cooper, and Njoku's had some decent moments, Ford catching balls out of the backfield. I'm shocked that Mike's come in here and picked against his Broncos. It's been his team. He's been riding with Russ. He's been dead on about the bounce back for Russ this season.
I can't believe
the Broncos are playing their best football of the year.
Yeah, Chris, you're right. You know what it is? I was a little concerned about the Josh Dobbs game last week. The defense has been playing well. The Broncos defense is much better. Stop using the numbers from the whole season. Don't do it. Just look at their recent wins over the Chiefs and the Bills. However, Thompson Robinson can run. Dobbs really struggled. There's no way you're going down the field on the Browns defense if they're down late in the game. And yes, I know Cortland Sutton, Jeff Ratcliffe called this on his podcast as well. Yet another touchdown this year. That secondary for the Browns is legit. You know the running game has been solid. They still have Amari Cooper. It's just too many weapons. I don't like this matchup, and I don't like that Dorian Thompson-Robinson is going to provide a similar feel to Josh Dobbs, and that made the Broncos struggle a little bit. I love Russ. I love him in Best Ball Mania. Keep throwing, just not this week.
Not a low total, 35. Yikes.
Yeah, right. I know everything. These lines are interesting this week. Hey, okay, so you went with your money line dog. I have been, rolling with the money line dogs too. I'm taking the Texans this week. We were drinking the Houston Kool-Aid. Right now, I think the spread's 1.5. 1 point. I can't even see where it is on the graphic right now, but I have 1.5. Yeah, no. So this is a big one. AFC South, guys. This is really, the winner of this will take the lead in the division. So Texans are 3-0 against teams above 500. I know Jax is the favorite here, but I like Houston. I like what CJ Stroud's been able to do. I know last week wasn't great for him, but the Texans still found a way to win. And so, you're comparing like veteran team versus young team, but I like the spark that Houston's got right now. What do we think?
I agree with Abby. I love the pick. Yeah, I'm sorry, Chris. I agree with Abby. I love the pick. Houston shouldn't be an underdog. This is a rivalry game. They played well.
It's in Houston.
It's in Houston. Yeah. CJ Stroud had his 3-interception game last week. He got that out of the way. Singletary has been great. I love it. It's a great call. Go ahead, Chris. Sorry.
I kind of feel like Jacksonville's going to win the game. I know. I kind of feel like it. But you know what? All the numbers point towards Houston. The way that CJ Stroud has played, he's been way more consistent this season than Trevor Lawrence. And Trevor Lawrence is 1-4 in his career against the Texans. He got crushed against the Texans earlier this season. I'm looking at his game log against Houston. He's got 4 touchdowns in 5 games, and 3 of them came in his first ever appearance against the Texans. So he has gone his last 4 games against the Texans with 1 passing touchdown, and he has 7 picks in his career against Houston as well. So all the numbers do point to Houston here, but I just like seeing the resurgence, the bounce back from Trevor Lawrence last week with 4 total touchdowns. Calvin Ridley had a good game. It was nice to see because we hadn't seen it all year. Like Zay Jones, Calvin Ridley, and Kirk. It's been like once, twice, maybe 3 times this season. Having Zay Jones in the field does open up some avenues for some other players. So it should be a really good game. I think it's going to come down to who has the ball last. And if that's the case, CJ Stroud may just walk off again.
All right. Okay. Well, it's me and Randall against me. That's our first really major argument so far, but that's okay. And you at least
it's a coin flip for me.
The best team win. It is a coin flip game. Okay. Ravens at Chargers. Lamar Jackson just continue to crush it. It's currently sitting at the top seed in the AFC playoff picture after your poor, KC won last week. What am I saying? I was about to say your poor Eagles. I'm like, what am I saying?
No,
but Lamar Jackson against the Chargers. The Chargers have lost 5 games by 3 points or less. The spread currently at 3.5 in favor of the Ravens. What do we think, Meaney?
I can't believe I was even considering the Chargers last week. Like, what happened? What happened? Everything that happens with the Chargers is like years and years and years of this. What I can remember from years ago with Phillip Rivers and this team when they were San Diego, they always double-digit wins, and then they just got bounced early against a team that, they had to go on the road and play a cold weather squad, and Phillip Rivers could never win. And then it was like they couldn't find a kicker. Now they got Dicker the kicker who kicks everything. He doesn't miss at all, but they still find a way to lose, whether it's an Eckler fumble in the red zone, 5 or 6 drops last week, a ton of drops, especially inside the end zone. They found a way to come back in the game thanks to Herbert, and they still gave it up late. The defense is awful. It's pathetic. I'm done with Staley. Like, just fire him already. He's not the answer.
Wasn't he a defensive coordinator? What are we talking about?
Like he's
that was
all the questions from the reporters. He just stop asking me that. I'm gonna call the plays. I'm confident in my defense.
Yeah, that's when you know.
Bosa,
yep.
And Derwin James and all these players that they have, they just should be better than this. This would be classic Chargers to win this game against the Ravens, who everybody thinks, and I agree, that are Super Bowl contenders, legit contenders, but there's no chance in hell I'm putting my money on the Chargers. Ravens 3.5. This defense is too good. The Chargers defense is not good enough. There's nobody outside of Keenan Allen stepping up. Quentin Johnson looks like a brutal pick. It's still early in his career, but he is not creating separation. Guyton is back. I don't care about any of that. I'm going with Baltimore. The Chargers can't stop anybody. They're among the leaders in yards per attempt. Can't stop the run lately. The quarterback completion percentage against is not great. So, Abby, you just talked about Lamar. He's playing good football. Gus Edwards is among the leaders in rushing touchdowns. I think we'll see more Keaton Mitchell this week. Unleash them. I like the Ravens, and I think we're going to see a big game from Zay Flowers.
Randall, what do you think?
He's going to be jumping.
Yeah, listen, I'm done with the Chargers. That Quentin Johnson drop was horrific. And look at the videos. The videos that are out there, you can see how slow Austin Eckler looked when he's running. I think he's still banged up. Yeah. I can't back the Chargers in this spot. Our own Josh Gross here just continues to print money off of Lamar Jackson over rushing yardage prop. I mean, just every week they set it too low. No way, Raven, I'm with you. Totally get it here. Forget the Chargers. I'm done with the Chargers. They need to get rid of them. Maybe Bill Belichick will be their coach next year.
Yeah, maybe.
Whoa.
I don't think Staley. I think we can agree he's finished.
When you when a coach is fielding questions the way that he was from reporters, like that's you see that and you're like, he's lost that locker room. That he's lost everybody at this point. It's just surviving through the end of the season. I'm surprised he's going to make it through the end of the season, honestly. Yeah. Okay, Bills and your Eagles, sir. They're still flying high.
They are still flying high. Every week I hear excuses. They found a way to win. That's the bottom line, is that they do find ways to win football games. Like, say what you want.
I had the Jalen Hurts passes. Yeah.
The defense stepped up in the second half. They didn't allow any points. They made some plays in the red zone. They won a turnover battle. But I think that this one it may be a bit of a trap here. I believe, maybe I'm looking into this too much. I'd like to hear Randall's thoughts here. I believe in like kind of a look ahead thing. The Niners are coming to town next week. And the Eagles are focused. They're a good team at home. The Bills have some issues still in their secondary. I think Philly will be able to move the ball, but I also think Josh Allen will be able to move the ball against this Eagles secondary. They struggle in the middle of the field. They struggle against tight ends. Our DVOA statistics have them as one of the worst teams at defending the tight end position. They did a good job last week of like doubling Travis Kelce. They're not going to be doubling Kincaid. They're going to be focused in on Stephon Diggs, which will leave some open avenues for Dalton Kincaid to have a big game and Shakir in the slot, who had a nice touchdown last week as well. So I think those two guys will be issues for the Eagles. I think they win the game, but I just think it's a field goal game. I think it's a tight game, a field goal game. And there's just something that has me thinking that Philly is more focused on the Niners and Debo and Purdy coming to town with the magnitude of what that game will mean for the conference and the number one seed next week. So I am in on Buffalo. Randall's the upset king, but I'm taking the plus 3.5 here for Buffalo.
Well, yeah. And then you can argue, right, for the Bills, this is a big game for them. Like the Eagles are already looking at the Niners, and for Josh Allen and the Bills, it's like, hey, this is, we've been underwhelming. We've not met expectations. Josh Allen's thrown an interception in 7 straight games. Like he'll
probably throw another one.
Yeah, exactly. So like this is something that they've got their eyes on. So I agree with you. But I do think I think the Eagles are going to win. Are you going money line dog with this?
No, I'm not. I think Philly wins the game. Go ahead. Maybe Mike will be.
That's what I was going to say.
King of the dogs.
You're gosh darn right. I am. We are selling the Eagles. Listen, this is a classic sell high spot. The Eagles are awesome. They're a Super Bowl contender. They're probably the favorite. They're great. They're fantastic. That doesn't mean they can't stumble. They just beat the Chiefs. Everyone's fired up about it. I called it. Now we're going the opposite way. The Bills stink. We're down on the Bills. They can't win. They're not good. Really, very interesting. Remember, I used this stat last time. It didn't work out. I'm going back to it. Josh Allen, guys, as a road underdog in his career, 10-4-2 against the spread. That's 71%. Yes, they did not cover against the Bengals, but there were an awful lot of turnovers. So I'm looking at it this way. If you get a lot of turnovers, I'm going to lose this bet. But if they don't turn the ball over and they're careful and they continue to be the plod, carefully down the field, keep it in front of them, maybe get a couple turnovers on the Eagles, which is rare. I understand that. They can pull this upset. I am with Meaney. The 3.5 is key. That is a key number, but I am fine going money line as well. Again, guys, it's the NFL. People regress back and forth. Sell high on the Eagles, buy low on the Bills. Classic spot. Good numbers for Josh Allen. It burned me against the Bengals. I'm going to go back to it again this week.
All right, there we go. Hey, final one for you, Chris, because I know you had your eyes on this game total for Tampa Bay and Indianapolis, 44.5. I know the Colts are a 2.5-point favorite. Are you going over or under, and why?
I'm going to go over. Yeah, I'd even take the 45. If there's a 44, all the better. I would.
Yeah, I saw 44 earlier, but it might have changed.
Sign me up. Again, the parlay calculator is your friend. It can save you some cash. We sit here and be like, man, 45 points. And Abby told me 44.
Oh, yeah. Go look. No, I think I definitely.
44.
Yeah, totally.
I believe you. I believe you. And I'm going to sign up for that 44.5. The model doesn't agree, and the model's been great. I just wanted to point that out. The model's been fantastic. I mean, again, promo code GRAVY. Get yourself a look at that model. It has been just
literally
all year long. But these defenses are both trash. The secondary's got holes all over the place. There's a lot of games that have the 33, 35. I think this one could be fun. Mike Evans has been consistent this year. I know Minshew only really throws the ball to two people, and it's Pittman and Downs. I know that he's dealing with a knee injury that dates back to OTAs, but it sounds like he's good to go. He's not on the injury report. Taylor's been kind of trending up here a little bit. Both teams are among the leaders in passing yards allowed, yards to wide receivers. I like what I've seen from Rashad White lately too. So this is a game where I think could be, it may seem ugly. There's a lot of ugly football games this week, but this is one where I actually feel like it could be a fun fantasy environment. Scott Spratt of FTN is super sharp. He jumped on the show, told me there was going to be some positive regression on Chris Godwin touchdowns. I'm like, yes, let's go. It's all happening here in this game. So I am leaning with the over 44.5.
Yeah, 44 is a good one. 44.5. All right. Randall, do you have any final thoughts? I know are we going to do Survivor Pick again?
Oh, we can. Well, it depends on who you have left here. Survivor Pick. You certainly don't pick the Chargers. I'd rather take a coin flip there with the Colts Buccaneers. If you had to go somewhere, then go with the Chargers. Looking at it quickly, people have asked me, and they don't have a lot of teams left. You could get to the Buccaneers if you wanted to go there. Colts, one of those two teams is fine if you have a feeling. Guys, the Jet-Miami game, I live in New Jersey. I'm just telling you, it's always been crazy. Now, I'm not saying that you go to survival pool there, but if you're stuck and you wanted to be contrarian, you could take the Jets in that matchup, guys. There's something always weird about it. I know it's a long shot, but some people really want to be contrarian at this point because they want to avoid the big upsets like Washington last week against the Giants. So what I'm saying is be careful with that game. Don't necessarily go with Miami. I just think it's tricky. Fine with the Browns as well. I mean, if you still have the Chiefs left, God bless you. And yes, Chris, I would be fine, even though there's no Green Jarrett with the Falcons over the set.
He's doing it. Someone get the timestamp. 32 minutes. Like the Saints. Not only does he like the Saints, he likes the Saints over the Falcons. Holy crap! He's drinking the martinis already.
If you could go either way. You could go with the Falcons if you wanted to. Just no Grady Jarrett makes me a little nervous. That's all.
We did a whole 31 minutes before the Saints got brought up. There we go.
There we go. I like the Saints this week for sure. I have to pick two teams in mind, and I'm going with the Vikings. And again, we're down to week 12 here. All these matchups are gone. I agree. If you somehow have Kansas City left, I'm seeing the Yahoo pool here that I'm in, and 15% of the pool is picking Kansas City. So lucky them. 8% Detroit, 5% Miami, and 4% Dallas. Minnesota and Tennessee are two teams that I like this week. I like the Titans against Carolina. They haven't been able to move the ball. Henry hasn't been great, but they've been playing from behind a lot. So this is one where maybe they have the lead and they're able to lean on him because you can run all over Carolina. And then the Vikings, against the Bears. I know it's Fields and it sounds like maybe JJ will return, but give me Minnesota at home. They've been the more complete team than Chicago this year. So those are the two teams. It's getting down to the ugly part of the season.
Down to the ugly. I like that way, the way you put it that way.
Yeah. We got one more pick.
We do. Ooh!
Always. George, you're the man, man. George, you're the man. It's Thanksgiving, Jim Martini, 3 olives. Last time I may send that picture out. Last picture I put out for FTN with the FTN shirt on was when Florida Atlantic Chris made the Final Four. I mean, that was a wonderful night. So maybe we send it out here again after Brian Robinson somehow gets to 100 rushing and receiving yards. Thank you, George.
We got the bats, and then we got the gin martini. It's two very different people.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, Abby, there it is. Abby, when you were at when Chris and I were at the Flex Leagues draft and we met you, remember I walked over, I'm like, you want a martini? She's like, isn't it like 11 in the morning? I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah, I did. Yeah. You know what's funny though? Like martini's my go-to, but I go vodka martini. I don't go
gin only. Juniper berries. It's cholesterol. Helps with the cholesterol, right, Chris? Yeah, juniper berries.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm like, I turned a
Helps with a
certain
few
age.
things.
I turned a certain age and I went from vodka sodas to vodka martini. And that's when I was like, that's when I knew. I was like, I'm aging. I'm getting older. You just take out everything. Just give me
I can't wait till next time we're all together in New York for Flex and martinis at 11 o'clock. Let's go.
I will say I haven't quite gotten there yet. Maybe in like a couple more years I will. But right now I'm like, I have to wait till at least 5 o'clock.
I stay still with that, Chris. Chris, I have not gotten over that perfect season I had, which was ruined by Alvin Kamara with Jody Smith. I should have a belt. Oh my gosh, perfect season. 6 touchdowns. Christmas Eve, my mother-in-law's making meatballs. You like the meatballs? I'm hanging off the table looking at the TV. Kamara, another one. Kamara, another one. I'm like, yeah, these are great.
Meatballs and martinis. Hey, but it's Thanksgiving. Turkey is coming shortly for all of you guys. We appreciate you tuning in per usual on our weekly FTN betting show. There we go. The gravy. Go get the gravy. Guys, I'm telling you, I have so many people that reach out to me. They're like, you are hitting on so many bets lately. I'm like, it's the tools, like the FTN tools. Like literally, they are not wrong. Every now and then they're wrong, but most of the time they're right. And we're just all crushing it. And you got to utilize those. So appreciate you all per usual. Have a good Thanksgiving and we'll see you next week.